What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the On the Rhoad DFS Sports Show. Here I'm coming to you on a Friday to break down the slate, offer you some value plays, and then my top three stud plays at the top here on today's NBA slate. Starting out at number 10, I have Patrick Beverley, who's priced at 4.7. Pretty good price there at 4.7. We've seen that Beverley is a pretty consistent contributor for the Timberwolves team. Add on to that, the Anthony Edwards is out tonight. Plus, it's against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Just about as good a matchup as you're going to find for any team. So I like Patrick Beverley a lot at that price, 4.7. Next up, we have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's priced at a reasonable 4.4K on Fanduel. These are all FanDuel prices, by the way. We know that a lot of the Washington players have had usage increase after Beal went out for the year, Kyle Kuzma being the most notable. But don't sleep on KCP here, who's had quite the usage increase himself. He relies heavily on his scoring. If the ball isn't going in the basket for KCP, it's probably not going to be a great fantasy night for him. But at 4.4, you don't need him to do a ton. On top of that, his teammate Denny, he's been a little banged up here recently, so I think it's a good spot for Caldwell-Pope. At number 8, we have Alec Burks, the starting point guard for the New York Knicks. Starting, you ask? Yes, because Kemba Walker's shut down for the year, and it looks to be at least another week or two before we see Derrick Rose back in action for the New York Knicks. So put those pieces together. What do you have? Alec Burks, the starting point guard in a Thibodeau offense where he likes to play the starters into the ground. Big minutes. This is going to be a 30-plus minute night for Alec Burks. Question is this game going to blow out? Because they're playing the Phoenix Suns. That's up to you. I mean, that's a judgment call for every individual person. It is a little tough because you would expect the Suns might blow them out. But as I mentioned, Thibodeau likes to play his starters. I've seen him play them big minutes in blowouts before. So Alec Burks at this price at 4.6, I think could crush value. Next up, we have the veteran Mike Conley here at 6,000. A little more expensive than some of the other guys I mentioned up to this point, but he's going to be in a very fast-paced game against the Pelicans here. New Orleans is one of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA. Not particularly great defensively either. It's a good spot for Conley, but I was just talking about that blowout risk for Alec Burks. Well, now we have it on the other side. Okay, the Jazz could easily blow the doors off the New Orleans Pelicans. That's just what it is. And you know what else? Mike Conley, he's a veteran. He's going to be one of the top guys to rest if they start to blow them out. Conley's going to be one of the first guys that gets that rest just because of his age plus the blowout. So it is a bit of a risky play, but if this game can stay close at all, and maybe even if it doesn't, I like Mike Conley for 6,000. It's a very nice price for a starter for the Utah Jazz here. At number 6, we have Jerami Grant at 6.4. Now, Grant, after he came back from that injury, he took a little while to regain form, but now he's been pretty consistent across the last few games here. 34 minutes approximately per game, a little higher, a little lower here. But they're also playing the Pacers. Neither team's very good, but I could see this being a close game, which means Grant would play his full minutes, and I could see him doing very well in this matchup against Indiana. I'm not really sure what to expect from Indiana, quite honestly. After their trades with Halliburton, Brogdon just coming back, it's a little bit up in the air what to expect from this team on a night-to-night basis, but I would expect this to be a fairly close game, which would give Grant the full minutes and the full production. Number 5, we have Clint Capela. He's finally regained form. It took a while for Capela, but he's really starting to come around, and 6.4 is a wonderful price for the starting center against the Washington Wizards. That's one of those teams I love targeting big men who are going up against them, because it seems like the bigs always do well against Washington. They got rid of Harrell too. Porzingis still not good to go. So I have no issue at this price, 6.4, Clint Capela against the Wizards, absolutely. And our final mid-range value here at number 4 is going to be Herbert Jones at 4.8. Again, mentioned this earlier, very fast-paced Pelicans team. So they're going to get a lot of possessions, a lot of shots. He plays 31 minutes consistently, literally 31 on the dot the last 3 nights. So I'm really big on those consistent minutes for Herbert Jones. But again, blowout risk. Does Utah blow out the Pelicans? If that's what happens, maybe he doesn't play 31 tonight. But also, the Pelicans are one of those young teams that may just let their young guys play no matter what the score is. So that's another way of looking at it. But just be aware that this Utah game could get out of hand quickly. All right, that's going to do it for the value plays. Now, for my final 3 plays, I'm going to talk about my 3 guys I really like who are spend ups. At number 3, DeMar DeRozan, 9.8K. He's been scoring 40 plus fantasy points a game. Just some would say an MVP caliber season. I think he's definitely up there. He's not my number 1, but DeRozan has been playing great lately. And I have no problem at all going to him for 9.8. It's a little bit lower than some of the biggest spend ups on the slate, so I'm all right with going a little cheaper for a guy who's going against the Bucks. Chicago versus Milwaukee here should be a good game. Starters should be out there quite a bit all the way up until the end, I would assume. So I really like targeting this game because I'm not expecting a blowout in Milwaukee versus Chicago. I will mention a little more about that here in a second. Number 2, Trey Young, 9.1 thousand. His price has risen a little bit after a great performance last night. I'm trying to think who the top 3 were last night. Was it Luka, Trey, and Reggie Jackson? Reggie Jackson might have been the second, actually. Those were the top 3 last night. So it goes without saying then that Trey Young is on the back end of a back-to-back here. He was actually questionable. A lot of people didn't think he was going to play yesterday. There's no injury designation at all going into this, so should be good to fire in Trey Young. He's going against Washington. I mentioned I love bigs against Washington, but really I love anyone against Washington. It's a dream matchup for basically whoever's against them. I think Trey Young will do great. I think Clint Capela will do great too. I have no issue stacking both of those guys. And number 1, we have the most expensive guy on the slate, and it's Giannis. So I already mentioned on my DeRozan analysis that I expect Chicago-Milwaukee to be a great game to target for Fanduel today, as it should go down to the wire. Starters should play full minutes. And I like Giannis a little more than DeRozan. He's Giannis. DeRozan's been doing great, but Giannis just does so much. And if he's in there for his full minutes in a meaningful game, these are the types of games where Giannis goes for 60 plus, 70 plus. I know he's at 11.3, but I just have a really tough time fading him here. You're going to have to find value other places, but guess what? I just mentioned here 7 other guys that you could go to for value. So I think you got to find a way to get Giannis in your lineups tonight. And that'll do it for today's NBA DFS analysis. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I hope to bring you more videos in the future.